All right, good evening. I've got 7 o'clock, so we'll get started with our work session tonight. So I just asked that you please silence your cell phone just so it doesn't interrupt anybody while they're speaking tonight. First off, I'd like to say thank you for the large attendance that we've got tonight. It's very appreciated. That's what we were hoping for, and get a lot of feedback on this needed change to our land use ordinance. So we'll move directly into our agenda tonight and go with the invocation and the pledge. Chuck, can you get us started?
Let's stand. Let's pray. Father, we thank you tonight. We thank you for your love, your grace, and Father, we thank you for this community that you've blessed all of us to live in, dear God. Father, I pray tonight for our community. I pray first and foremost, God, that you put a hedge of protection around our community. Dear God, as you have in so many ways over the years, we pray your continued protection. Dear God, I pray as we are all here in one community tonight, dear God, I pray that you would give us wisdom and guidance that only comes from you. I pray that you would help us not to rush to any type of failure, that you would help us to be just really go through everything that needs to be done over the next several months or even longer, whatever it takes to continue to protect this community from outside sources that may not have our best interests at heart, but we want the interest of our community to be heard, and we want the best interest for our community because it's ours. Help us to have a big attitude when it comes to this and continue to watch over us. Bless and have your way in our lives, and we ask for your continued protection. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. Appreciate that. So we only have one item on the agenda tonight, and that's, can we please just keep it down a little bit? We only have one agenda item tonight, and that's just to discuss the draft or proposed ordinance related to data centers in Stevens County. So I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, so we'll move directly into new business. First, I just wanted to start out with explaining what the purpose of this meeting is. So we had started a couple months ago working on a draft of the ordinance related to data centers. And we've been working on it, pulling from various sources across the state of Georgia. Christian and his team's done a good bit of research on that. But I want to be very clear that there has been no application submitted in Stevens County for a data center to be coming. So that's not the purpose of this meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to get feedback from the public to make sure that we have the strongest ordinance possible to protect the resources and the people in Stevens County. So again, there is no application active or submitted to the Stevens County Planning Commission or us for review. So we'd just like to get the feedback tonight from the public. I'm going to let Mr. Hamilton walk through some of the highlights of what's in the current draft. I hope everybody's had an opportunity to look at that. And then I'm going to allow public comment. There's a lot of us here tonight, and I want everybody to be able to speak. So if we could just try to keep it 1 to 3 minutes. I'm not going to have you on a clock or a timer or anything like that. I want everybody to have an opportunity to speak, but let's just try to be respectful to each other, and don't get repetitive saying the same things over and over. So we'll let Mr. Hamilton do his review, and then I'll turn it over to the public for comment.
And just to be clear, we have not had an application for a data center. So not only are none of them pending right now, we haven't even had one yet. And also and we have a moratorium in place, thank you, which means they cannot apply right now while we are working on this. They cannot apply. And as Chairman Rickman said, we started on an ordinance because we didn't have one. There was not one in place to address these type of centers. So we took it upon ourselves to do that proactively, not because we had someone breathing down our neck.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. All right, Mr. Hamilton.
Excuse me. So the moratorium is in place through mid-October of 26. That was originally established through July, and that is because the Board of Commissioners held 2 readings and a public hearing on the first ordinance that was put into place. That was done last month. And following from that, some changes were requested from some citizens. Based on those changes and based on the fact that there's obviously some citizen concern about getting this ordinance in place, the board decided to go ahead and extend that moratorium through October of 26. It's mid-October of 26. So the current draft of the ordinance that we're going to be reviewing tonight includes changes from citizen feedback at the last meeting. So I do want to reiterate that we've already had 2 readings of this ordinance as well as some citizen feedback, but what we've got right now is continued discussion on that. So a very brief breakdown of the proposed ordinance is it includes a new definition added to our land use policy regarding the actual definition of a data center, and that definition includes, but is not limited to, hyperscale enterprise co-location, blockchain, cryptocurrency mining, anything that you could see operating through a data center. That was added to the definitions in our ordinance, and then we have a whole ordinance text amendments dedicated to actual data centers. That is found under our commercial industrial zoning district, which is our most intensive zoning district, which means it aligns with the most intense scrutiny for review in our zoning code, and it is listed as a conditional use. And what a conditional use is, it means that it requires approval regardless of whether it meets the zoning requirements for the property in which it would be located. So even if it met the requirements of a conditional use, or excuse me, of the commercial industrial zoning district, it would still require conditional use approval from the Board of Commissioners, which is a second set of standards for approval in regards to allowing something like that. The way the ordinance is currently written is it involves minimum site area, which right now is 10 acres, and it says that it will be allowed only within the boundaries of the Haystone Brady Business Park, as well as fencing and security requirements. Just briefly, all data centers have to be enclosed by a perimeter fence a minimum of 8 feet in height, as well as certain decorative and vegetative buffers being required to prohibit screening from any public or private road. Setbacks right now are a minimum of 1,000 feet from any existing residence, measured from the nearest point of the building to the nearest residential structure. A 500-foot buffer is required from public roads as well as major arterials, which is 200 feet, and local industrial access roads is 100 feet. There are infrastructure and utility requirements. Right now, it requires a power, water, and broadband impact study to determine projected utility demand at build-out, proposed phasing, and identification of any necessary off-site improvements or extensions. The applicant would be required to prioritize air-cooled liquid immersion or hybrid cooling systems, which would incorporate a mandatory water reclamation and reuse system, and the applicant would be required to demonstrate that the selected cooling method is the least water-intensive technology feasible for the site, and through that, they would be required to submit a water usage plan. They would have to comply with all water efficiency standards established by the applicable utility provider, including any maximum allowable usage thresholds. And they would also be required to submit water withdrawal and wastewater discharge monthly reports and submit those to the county for review. The applicants would be required to enter into binding agreements with affected utility providers to fund and implement all necessary improvements, and they would include provisions for monitoring, reporting, and enforcement to ensure long-term sustainability of water and infrastructure resources, and to ensure that no additional costs for utility usage by any proposed data center would be incurred separately by any private or commercial users in the community. Other requirements would be required, including a stormwater management plan. Certain data centers exceeding 10 megawatts of power would be required to submit an energy and sustainability plan. There are requirements for noise pollution, including any backup and emergency generators as well as cooling systems, which right now would not exceed 60 dBA at the property line during daytime hours from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., or 50 during nighttime hours from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. And data centers would be required to ensure that no more than 20% of heat dissipated shall be released directly to the outside when the average daily temperature is less than 40 degrees Fahrenheit. There's certain requirements about building materials as well as outdoor light pollution, specifically at nighttime hours, requiring it be directed and shielded downwards, as well as maximum lamp wattage. And then there are certain emergency safety and public safety requirements as well, including a site-specific emergency response plan, fire suppression systems, as well as emergency drills and coordination. And then, of course, our last section is compliance and enforcement, and this involves certain violations and fines subject if there are any issues with that. That's the current markup of the draft ordinance.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. I appreciate the work y'all have done on that, and I appreciate the feedback that we've got so far. So we'll open it up to public comment. We didn't really collect forms tonight, or there was only a few submitted. I expect more folks want to speak tonight than what submitted the forms. So we'll start with the forms and then just kind of work our way around to anybody who'd like to come up and speak or provide additional feedback on the ordinance. So who's the first form?
The first and only form that we've got submitted is from Billy Chisholm.
Billy? Number one. You drew number one. Okay. Understand. Yes, sir. Understand. So who's going to be brave enough to be number one? Who'd like to come on up? We'll take the green shirt right there. Sorry, I don't know names of everyone.
Number one, I'll be brave. So.
Yeah, please just state your name and address.
All right, it's Lauren Thomas, 745 Pulliam Road, East Denali. And full disclosure, I do work for a large tech company.
Sure, yes, ma'am.
But that doesn't have anything to do with this topic, but I am well-versed in the idea of a data center and why it would be used. What I've observed around not just the state of Georgia, but elsewhere, I think there was recently a case in New Jersey and some other places, is that the tech companies that want the data centers are not really being regulated at all about any of it, right? AI and these other technologies are new areas. There's not a lot of legislation about it. You think about our regulated industries, poultry, farming, hair salons, I mean, everything that comes up at these meetings, right? We have lots of regulations, we've got cases, we've got precedent to look at. But the whole AI movement and all the things that they're wanting the data centers for is really an unknown area. And so these communities are sort of getting this promise of, oh, there could be a tax base, or there could be jobs, or there could be all these things. And really what's happening is these large companies that are based usually not anywhere near here are coming in, predominantly rural areas, but some of the other metro areas, and wanting vast amounts of land, vast amounts of water, power, equivalent of a town with 10 or 20,000 people, right? With no jobs, maybe 10. I think the average data center is about 6 employees permanently. So if you took all the sort of AI talk and the data center talk and kind of the hype that's around it, and you just thought about someone coming into the county and saying, I want to put in this multi-100-acre, potentially, or larger facility that's not going to bring any jobs. It's going to use all your water. It's going to be a clear-cut area with lots of power usage, lots of water usage, potential noise pollution, other health considerations that people really haven't investigated. I mean, that's a new area that people are looking into. And they went down the list of sort of the negatives. You probably would just say, well, that doesn't sound like anything that we would want in our community. But I know that the companies and the different developers are sort of pressuring because they'll say, oh, this is going to be great for your tax base and everything. But I encourage you to look into, what the state may have already promised folks as far as tax breaks, like what does it actually do to the tax base in Stevens County? Does it even help? Because one could say, okay, maybe it doesn't create jobs, but if it alleviated property tax owners of X amount of tax liability a year, I don't think that's the case, though, with how at least the state of Georgia has set up some of the tax credits and some other things that are coming in future tax years. I would encourage you to look into that as you think about the permanent ordinance or, how y'all are going to proceed on it. The environmental impact, I think, has been touched on by the draft ordinance, but is huge and cannot be underestimated. These are not anecdotal stories. I mean, these are real stories of folks in Coweta County and other places who have had entire, water systems dried up because they have had a data center go in upstream. And we are still a rural, mostly agricultural, not metro Atlanta county. And when you see, what some of the downsides are, I think it's in the best interest of Stevens County to be patient and let some of these other counties maybe go through some of the growing pains and let some of the precedent start so that you can have something to look to, because to be the first in the area isn't really a badge of honor that maybe we want. So I share those thoughts. I appreciate your time and your attention, and I appreciate the opportunity for the public to come in and speak on the
Absolutely.
topic, okay?
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. All right, I believe the gentleman right here on the left was next.
Have control over only a few things.
Can we just have your name?
Oh, my name's Ronald St. John. I'm from,
Thank you, sir.
you have control over only a few things. One of those is water. When they came through my neighborhood 40 years ago, putting water in the side of the road, they said well, tell these data centers they can't have a well, because if they do put it, having a drain heart well, don't let them draw directly from the lake. Water, it belongs to us, but you are the ones that control it. Don't let them control the water. Natural gas, hey, they'd like to have some of that natural gas to run their generators and stuff. Cola has the natural gas. Don't. Another thing about water is, if you've noticed, the people in Westminster drive around in dirty cars. They drive around in dirty cars because there's not very many car washes in Oconee County. And that's because, and I want to encourage y'all to shake hands with some of those commissioners in Oconee County. Commercial water for commercial purposes have to pay 3 times the residential rate. I don't know if your business plan would support that, Chuck.
Sir,
Not
if
even
you
in the
don't,
top 100 water users, so I'm fine.
if you don't mind speaking into the microphone, because
Okay.
there are speakers that are projecting towards the
okay.
back of the room.
But yeah, in Oconee County, they charge anybody who uses water commercially 3 times the residential rate. And I think that would have an effect on keeping them going. And like Smokey the Bear says, only you can prevent data centers. And I mean that individually to you, because I know that each and every one of y'all could use a few million extra dollars. And they will come to town and they'll divide and conquer. They'll isolate you, offer you millions, and only you can prevent that from happening. And so don't take any bribes, and
We will do our best.
don't take any bribes. Hey, listen, if they want to put a data center here, they're coming with it. And they'll lobby you as much as they lobby those folks in Congress. They're pretty good at that lobbying because they get what they want 95% of the time. So stand tall and hold your head low. Thank you for representing us. The water, the natural gas, environmental impact statement, that you don't let them write it themselves. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the
Thank
feedback.
you.
All right, who'd like to go next? Sure.
I want to piggyback on the number one.
Number one.
My name is Joan East. I live at 556 East Denali Bypass, East Denali. And she was talking about the tax cuts. Those tax cuts don't last forever. It's only a short period of time that you get tax cuts and then you lose it. That's number one. Number two, I've been following a lady on Facebook who's been helping these other states write county ordinances to stop the data centers from coming to their counties. And she had done some research and said that if a data center loses control and were to explode, the whole building is equivalent to 2 nuclear bombs, if that were to ever happen. Now I did other research say, oh, that will never happen. It can happen with the stuff that they use. But anyway, that's another story. But also, they said that the farmers, cows, are getting losing their fertility, so they can't have calves that are close to these data centers. We have a lot of cattle farmers around here. chicken houses. The chickens don't grow as large as they need to be worked, to be sold to market. So it does damage our wildlife. I'll have a 50-acre farm, and we have deer, we have coyotes, we have bear. I mean, and I love watching them, and I don't want them disappearing. So we moved up here in 2019. We moved up here because it's a small, Toccoa is an old historical town. I don't want to lose this historical town. I will not live in Atlanta. I would die living in Atlanta. But this is a beautiful place. Toccoa's got so much to give everybody. They got the beautiful waterfalls and the creeks, and East Denali Creek runs on the backside of our property. So, protect Stevens County. I mean, I've only been here since 2019. It's kind of grown on me. So don't let them destroy the county.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Who's next?
I think that's like,
You're fine. Sure.
Okay, I'm trying to do loud, I'm sorry. I live off of Old Oak Valley Road. I was born and raised here. Love it here. I've done a lot of research on the data centers. I had to say that they do not follow the rhetoric. They do not follow the ordinance. Also showed images of nighttime infrared gases of these tunnels. Also seen where they have videos of when they were facility. It also causes give birth early. I'd hate to see our beautiful billions of water. And they secretly They do pay. Everything. Us to have to suffer through that. Great grandchildren. Causes upper respiratory. Causes hearing loss. I love it here. See it grow. I would love to see it prosper. I would love to see we allow this to come in.
Understand. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate the feedback. Ma'am, are you next?
Rather loud.
No worries.
Thank you guys for giving me an opportunity. I'm Saria Ivy. I'm a returning native of Stevens County, went to Stevens County High School, graduate proud to be here. I'm going to preface this with a couple of things. First of all, I've been a technological trainer, especially as it focuses on the cloud, for over 8 years for one of the largest technological Fortune 500 companies there is. So I'm coming from an area of expertise, so to speak. I would give myself middle school grade. And then from the perspective of I'm a nature lover, a landowner, and so I am all for preservation of the environment. We're really dealing with about 3 elements when it comes to data centers. It's unavoidable that they're coming to Georgia. It's a matter of what we do to maintain the quality of life that we deserve and enjoy, is what it comes down to. I'm a bit of a pragmatic kind of person and kind of matter of fact. So when it comes to water, a lot of times when we make ordinances, we make them in prohibition state, what we don't want. And I think that's a good perspective to do oftentimes, but what that does for people that are Fortune 500 companies, it allows them to be able to navigate and undermine you. So I find it so much easier when people tell people what they expect as opposed to what they don't want. I don't want you consuming and raising my water and electric bill. I don't want you eating up all the resources. I'd like to go to the park. I would not like to go through infrared 5G. There's a lot of things that I don't want, but I also know, working in technology, there's ways around that. And you'll be ordinancing people left and right all the time, and you'll have to constantly stay. So I wanted to offer you guys some perspectives of the things that you could put into the ordinance that would weed out those who have no intentions of obeying you. First and foremost, as we address the water issue, I don't want my bill going high. So instead of doing that, I would tell them, the only incentive you would get is if you do reuse municipal water waste. That is one of the ways. Cooling is why they consume so much of the water spans. Most of the companies do not want to spend the millions of dollars of infrastructure that it would take investment. They want something up front. They want you to give them a tax break. Most businesses are not going to want to invest the $1 million it would take to develop a system that would use municipal water. That would also benefit the utilities company. It would also reduce the amount of water bill, and it'll weed out your bad eggs. Okay, it'll weed out your bad eggs. Another element is electricity. When we talk about using alternate water sources to reduce the heat that comes off of the technology in the data centers, that means the other element. So if we're going to preserve water, that means electricity is going to go high because it requires more electricity to do water alternates. So then if we want them to preserve electricity, then that means water is going to go up. Make them have to do both. Make them have to absolutely invest chunks of their money and really, really hit that wallet in order for them to make sure that they stay out of ours. So when it comes to electricity, make sure that they use alternative electric sources. I know that has become a red flag given some of our political opponents out there in the world, but there is substantial proof that if they use alternative sources, one, they're going to have to come out their pocket again, heavy-duty dollars. It doesn't affect the taxpayers. It weeds out your bad guys because, again, they're not going to want to spend the money it takes to get that done. To give you kind of an illustration of what to look at when ordinances are, look at Cupertino, California. California has a lot of bad stuff, but they actually got something good on this one. Apple is the one that I want to point you to. Apple actually contributes to Cupertino, California. It contributes to their water source. It contributes to their electric source. However, they had to spend billions of dollars to build their data centers to be able to do that. That causes them, you would be surprised, Georgia right now holds about 286 data centers. Of the 286 data centers that are in Georgia, only about half of those are able to be refurbished, reused, and to match the cloud source. Because the whole necessity of the data centers is that we don't want China to own our personal business, and we want to maintain the safety. And right now, with all the 4,500 data centers across the United States, right now about a third of those in the United States are able to keep up with the AI competition and the cloud competition that's coming out, which is causing more of our technology to go overseas, which leaves us more exposed as far as our banking information, our personal information, and all that stuff. So that's what the whole drive toward the data centers are. But our drive is we like our quality of life. I'm one to believe that there's always a way to find a way to preserve and protect. make sure in your applications that before they can even think about constructing one, that they've actually invested in discovering what of the 286 data centers that still exist in Georgia can be refurbished and reused before they look at us. These are some of the elements and components that you can use to weed out those who don't care about us and actually make you a little bit less appealing. I guess is the best way to put it, would be diplomatic about it. Make you less appealing, but at the same time, it doesn't invite techie people such as myself to come and combat you and try to create this big hoopla. Another thing that I've found in counties that they don't think about, and I'm gonna hurry up, I promise I talk a lot, but I'm gonna hurry up.
No.
But here's the deal. A couple of other things that I want you to take in mind and keep in this. We were a military stronghold here. We still have a military stronghold here. Understand that data centers make you a target for worldwide attacks, okay? Especially with the condition that the world is in today. That will then once again put Toccoa back on the map for worldwide situations, if you know what I mean, okay? So while we argue about water and we argue about all those other elements, there needs to be conversations had with the Gold Dome, and trust me, I'm having them. There's conversations that need to be had about our national security as far as Toccoa is concerned. We already have a national security because we're at the head of the waterways that it is for the East Coast region. I think most people don't understand that, but we are. And so we already have that target. So did somebody say time? Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, so here's what I did for you guys, and I'm gonna let it go. I've actually printed out, I did not have email addresses, I'll leave this with whomever. I printed out
Give
the
it to Vince
profile
right
that
here.
Apple uses
Thank you.
and what other counties have used to be a deterrent for them. Hold on, I gotta take my notes. And if you want to get an email address from me, I'm gonna give you my form that I filled out online too. If you'll get a hold to me, I'll give you the whole 167-point spread Cupertino made Apple do in order for them to be there.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you. Who'd like to go next? Hey, Jim, how are you?
I'm not really good at public speaking. I have social anxiety, so bear with me.
Oh, absolutely, don't worry about it.
I read like pros and cons on data centers, and they're no good. They're really no good. It's going to cause sludge, toxic chemicals throughout our property. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? All right. So I believe that data centers are actually bad for our economy and also for the air pollution. It's going to cause, sorry.
You're good,
Like I said, I'm not good at talking.
no worries.
So basically, I think that these data centers are not going to be good. It's going to cost us double in water. It's going to come out of our pockets as well as everyone else's. Customers over 7 states paid over $4 billion in utility costs that connect to data centers, and that's coming out of taxpayers' money. I'm sorry, we already pay taxes on everything. Why should we be paying taxes for data centers as well? I don't agree with any of that. It does cause birth defects as well as mental strain. Can also cause heart attacks. There's a lot of elderly people in Northeast Georgia, and it's going to increase heart attack risk. That's going to be a big one. They're projecting that $2.5 billion in losses per year due to data center tech breaks and incentives. They also have, in Georgia, I think it's down like near Morgan County, one of the data centers had a leak, and they tried to cover it up. They also, I think, they wasted over $200,000, if I'm correct, somewhere around there, where they don't even pay their water bill. So, I mean, there's a lot of bad effects on this. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm nervous.
No worries.
So they use a lot of amount of drinking water, so it's going to cool their machines and everything, but that water can never be reused again. They put glycerol, I can't pronounce the word, they put glycerol, which is a chemical agent in there. It also takes over 2.5 billion tons of CO2 that may be released into the atmosphere. So that's going to be like 40% of the United States total emissions just in one data center. So they're using 200 to 400,000 metric tons of CO2 annually, as much as a small city. So Toccoa uses that just with us breathing. You put a data center in there, it's going to double that. That's going to CO2 cost CO2 costs, sorry. CO2 effects are going to go up. A lot of people complain about water pressure through their data centers. Closed-loop cooling systems can only be recycled in the system for a few times. So it's going to create blowdowns with wastewater, with nitrates, glycerol, and heavy metals, and those are going to pose risk into well watering as well as local aquatic wildlife. So it's going to cause effect on our animals as well as our fishing. The sound, it's going to have over 97 decibels of sound pollution, which can cause permanent hearing loss for people who work or live nearby it. They also have shown that lower brain engagement and consistently underperformed as neutral linguistic and behavioral levels, causing cognitive debt into people that use AI as well. Infrasound, which is not audible to the human ear, can be emitted from these data centers as well as in physical and mental health. The energy and generators that power the AI data centers release dangerous fumes that include fine particle matter and nitrogen oxides. Those pollutants can trigger and worsen health issues, as I said before, also causing rare cancers and miscarriages. They will also, giving these companies unfettered access to our data, or actually giving away our power as well of data sovereignty, as in like the flock cameras and stuff like that, but I won't get into all of that because that's a different topic. But also NDAs with data centers. They limit accountability because they are broad in writing and discourage information with sharing on project energy and water use. So NDAs leave both leaders and their constituents in the dark regarding potential impacts on these projects. So I think there should be no NDAs at all with data centers. Public should be aware of everything that's going on with it. Virginia had a problem with them, but they're not paying their electric bill as well. But I just think they're really bad on our health, our mental strain. Also with data centers, it's going to bring in more money with everybody, yeah, for the short term. It's going to give y'all some bonuses and stuff like that. So yeah, you'll be rich, but your kids will be freaking dead by the time in 100 years. If data centers will just keep popping up, the human population is going to go down because it also starts sterilization on people's health as well. So it's really not good. I don't know what else to say, but I got to get back to work. I had to come out here for this. Hopefully this data center stuff will not happen in Stevens County or Georgia at all, because I know that they've proposed banning. If y'all want to look up, what bill was it? A bill to be enacted as an act, which I'm not sure if they did. It's Chapter 1, Title 46, House Bill 1059. They also trying to postpone data centers here as well. I really hope y'all don't. That's all I can say, because I have 3 kids and I'd love to have grandkids one day, and I'd love for them to just keep going. But these data centers are not it's gonna pollute our water. If they're using over 5 million gallons a day for one data center, a day, 5 million water. That's, Stevens County don't even use 4.1.
Sure.
So if you got a computer sucking up all our water, there's not going to be any water left. Even with evaporation, it's going to get in the air system because water evaporates, it puts those chemicals back down into the ground. We're not going to have farmland, we're not going to have nothing. Data centers need to be shut down, or we're going to end up on Terminator where we're all dead. Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time. Thank you. Next. Sure. Well, you've got it next, sir. You got it next, sir.
I'll be quick. I'm Lisa Culberson, 2433 Mize Road. Been here just over a year. I remember when I was a kid and nuclear power plants were going up, we had these things called NIMBYs, right? Not in my backyard. And I didn't understand that. I thought we needed this power, so it has to go somewhere. I understand it now. And I think that should be our ordinance. Just, no. That's one word, no. That's it.
There's no legal purpose for the house. There hasn't been a challenge, right? There hasn't been.
Advantages of sitting in the back, you get to observe everybody. My name is Mark Harwood. I live at 84 Bowers Road.
Hey, Mark.
And on our water line, we are running 7 houses on a 3/4 inch line. Now, y'all threw the ballpark out there a while ago where I know it's going to be located, close to my house tonight, there at Haystone Brady Park. Those things use 1 million gallons of water a day, even the small ones. So how long you think it'd take to drain all the lakes around here? So which one do you want? Good drinking water, or you want a data center?
Understand?
My output of it is no, because we don't have no jobs here, period. Stevens County used to be the hub to come to work. And I can tell you from, my parents had 5 theaters, and I worked in all kinds of different businesses. I worked for other folks too. At the same time, Stevens County used to be the place to come to work. You had Coase and Clark, Wabco, Casket Factory. I mean, I could go on for an hour of good jobs that used to be here. There's not no more. Her dad used to be the plant manager at Vermont American. What happened? Democrats let it all go overseas over a tax break. Oh yeah, woo-hoo. At the end of the day, money ain't my God. I serve the heavenly creator. There's 2 different gods. Let's get it right. But those things are bad for the environment. And the runoff, what's it going to do? Go back into the table water. It's going to pollute people that do have wells, that rely on their wells to work their chicken houses, especially in that area.
Yes, sir.
There's more chicken houses in that area than I really would like to have. I can't even go outside
Down that
after
road.
9 o'clock for the ammonia.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
hey, come to my house and you can smell it. They made a movie right beside where I live.
Yep.
It's a good place to live. Stevens County is a good place to live, but y'all got to get it back to where it used to be, not where it's headed. Because, in my opinion, if I could get somebody to give me what they sold the house next door for, $500,000, bye. I'd take the money and run. But I don't feel like I have to, and I'm not going to let them force me out of where I live my entire life. I'm not going to let it happen.
Yes, sir.
We have rights. We put y'all in the office, we can elect y'all out of the office.
Oh, absolutely.
Bottom line to it, y'all do a good job. Y'all under a lot of pressure. But we still need industry in here for people to go out and eat, go to the new Marshalls and buy clothes. You got to get some jobs coming back in here, folks. I mean, bottom line to it, Livonia, Hartwell, even over in South Carolina has got more jobs than Stevens County has got. We would have to spend 5 years catching up with just what's in Livonia and Hartwell. Go over to Westminster and Seneca. Those are the people that used to come to the core to work. I got to stop because I'm getting, my adrenaline is rolling.
I understand.
And I had a surgery and it went wrong. That's another thing. Stevens County used to employ over 600 people at the hospital out here. And I don't even think they have half the employees they used to now. There again, it ain't rocket science. I don't have a good education, and I've had multiple businesses. So it ain't all about P's and Q's, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, or money. That's what it's all about. They use 1 million gallons a day, and whatever gigahertz or whatever he was talking about, it's about the hertz, the vibration, the noise that comes off of those things. That's why people have tinnitus in their ears, the ringing constantly. And it'll get worse. But I can't go outside during the day, in the mornings especially when they spray, at nighttime with the chemtrails. They killed all my peach trees on account of it. I got a greenhouse. I can go out there and rub my hand across it, and it has got nothing but white chemicals. Now, I do wear gloves when I do that. But there again, they're poisoning us. If they can't poison us through the water and the food, which they put fluoride and everything else in the water, I got to stop it. You got to get back to the basics, period. And that's the other thing. How are we going to have gardens of people that like to garden like me?
Sure.
Right now, we're to be harvesting crops. They're not even nowhere near ready to harvest because of the weather modification that's going on. Y'all got to get a grip on it. Y'all could be a good example of the rest of the world and the country. Stop spraying us and trying to kill us. We all gonna die. You ain't guaranteed tomorrow. But I would like to grow old as Moses. But there again, hell, I'll take it back in a minute. I just want to live in a good community. My wife was a tree hugger. I don't have her no more. So that's why I'm coming up here and voicing my opinion about this. She would be ironic. Y'all would not want her up here. And Debbie can tell you, she would have y'all, or she'd been cussed by now. Because she served in the Army, Air Force, but she cussed like a sailor. So you better have thick skin because it's going to get ugly if y'all allow that to come in down there. And look what happened to Caterpillar. When y'all give them a 10-year tax break, when the 10 years is up, what they do? Packed up and hauled ass. Bottom line to it. Y'all got to stop giving people tax breaks. They're building apartments over here on Hayes-Will Banks Road and on the bypass, and the gentleman that done that is going to build another one behind Junior's on Big A Road and Buck Addington's property. He bought it. Y'all give him a tax break.
We did
10
not.
years.
We did not, sir.
Well, now, I'm getting two different tales. See, that's the problem.
Well, I was sitting at the table. We did not do that.
Well, you need to make it point clear
I am
up
right now.
front. No, I mean with the rest of the community, not he said, she said, or hear it on the internet or read whatever. Yeah, we can turn it all around. That's what I've been told by people that work for the power company. Now, they ought to know more than anybody. There again.
It's incorrect information, sir.
But there again, if y'all gave Caterpillar a 10-year break on taxes, they should still be here.
Look,
Y'all did.
yeah, let's rein it back in.
Matter who's commissioner.
Let's rein
at
it
the
back in a
time.
little bit tonight. I appreciate you coming. Let's move on to data centers.
Thank you, sir.
Hey guys, my name's Casey Quarterman. I'm at 40 Watson Street. I grew up in Toccoa, Georgia, born and raised, went off to college, started my career in the western North Carolina mountains, and moved back here for a job with the U.S. Forest Service. Been in that position about 5 years. I manage 256,000 acres of national forests in 7 counties in northeast Georgia. And tens of thousands of those acres are here in Stevens County. And, I really think that's the best thing about this county is just the amount of nature and wild beauty that we have. A lot of people don't know, but there's 3 endemic species to this county. There's a salamander that lives just here and nowhere else in the world, and there's multiple wildflowers. And, it's about 25% of this county that's national forest. And I really think that that's the way. A lot of people talked about bringing people here and bringing jobs here. I think that's the way to bring jobs here. But a data center is kind of the opposite of that. And I don't think there's really anyone here that's for it, So I think we're kind of all on the same page. But, I just want to give my perspective of someone that manages a vast amount of land and beautiful, beautiful areas. I mean, I've been all over the world, but I came back here because I really think that this is one of the most beautiful places in the country. In northeast Georgia, where I manage national forests, we have 5 designated wilderness areas. Designated wilderness means that they protected these areas for water, for fresh air,
for all the resources that we need and to just let nature thrive. And the water that comes into the Tugelo River comes out of those wilderness areas. Some of the best water in the world. I mean, it really is. It bubbles straight out of the mountain. It's what people pay $4 a bottle at the gas station for. And it's right up here. So I don't want to take up too much time. I don't think I need to convince anyone that this is something that we need to stand against. But when it comes to jobs and the prosperity of this county and moving forward, I think we need to focus on what we have here and not something that we need to bring in that may jeopardize it all. And just to make an illustration, it's uncharted territory. When we started logging this country, that was also uncharted territory, and we destroyed the forest. It took us 100 years to figure out how to sustainably log because we didn't know how to do it. Same thing with mining, same thing with extraction of other natural resources. And if we're going to use natural resources to run a data center and we don't know how it works, it's going to happen again. It's going to take a long time to figure out what works and what doesn't, and we may screw a lot up on the way. So let's focus on what this county has and what makes it beautiful and unique, and keep things out that might jeopardize that.
Thank you, appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name's Joel Carter. I live at 210 Forest Brook Drive, East Denali, Georgia. What I would like to ask you to take consideration of tonight is not what we know about these things, and many have done an incredible job of explaining what we don't know about this, but I'm going to bring this to you in a more anecdotal fashion, because whether I like it or not, I see the world through my flawed eyes. I came to this county to go to college, then go to Clemson, then get my master's degree, and go somewhere else and make a living. What stopped me from doing that was this was the place that I always wanted to live when I never saw it. See, I'm a military brat. My entire family was military. I was military. I moved 16 times by the time I had my first child. That's what certain services do. I looked at this place and we were shocked. My friends would come to visit. They were shocked. Everybody up here knows us. They act like they know us. What do you mean? Well, they're even waving at you when you go down the road. I went to school in Chicago. I lived in Memphis. You don't know politeness until you've seen somebody let a door slam in about a 70 to 80-year-old woman's face because they're in a hurry. No regard. That's just the people that live here. What I'm looking at is to take that, taking what we have now, what we know, and you guys looking at this, and the community looking at it, and thinking that we do have approximately 4,500 of these things that I don't completely understand in the United States. One of the places where, since it was near Robbins Air Force Base and relatives, where I used to play, please don't call me weird, my playground was the Ocmulgee River Swamp, Ocmulgee River Basin. When I looked on the map doing my research, which is null and void compared to some of the people I've heard here tonight, the dots grow all up and down the Ocmulgee River Basin. When I was a little boy, when I visited my uncle, and people will say I'm hallucinating, a cypress stump big enough that you could pitch a military shelter out on it. And my uncle said when he was a young man, they carried one log per truck. Those things are gone. We can't get them back. The gentleman that spoke before me did a phenomenal job. He's to be saluted. I've mentored in this county for many years and was certified to do that. When I was an SRO at this school, I did that. What I taught them was to look at how lucky you are to be where you are, have the opportunities you have within driving distance. Then you've got a place that's yours. You can look, people here can look back 4 and 5 generations easily. Now I know this isn't direct to the point, here's the big point. Nobody knows what these things dump. It's an argument. If they are able to come in here, can Stevens County mount the financial resources to fight who? Do we even know? In a lawsuit? Billions? Would we let the bad guys in the door? You know, we'll talk about legends. You know, the old legend is a vampire can't come in your house unless you let him in. Would that be the case? And this is really anecdotal for me. I'm a military veteran. You can look around at some of your Vietnam veterans and the things they were spraying on the trees to protect them, called Agent Orange. One of my best friends died from that, less than a year after retirement. When I was in the Gulf, they ordered us to sign waivers saying that we would accept certain experimental medications. Joel Carter wouldn't do it. There was a stink. The judge advocate came down and said, "You're idiots. How do you manage anybody?" Listen to him. We still had to take this stuff because it was a lawful order. And yes, I know when you're in the military, you give the people of this country a blank check, cashable for up to anything, including your very life. So I can't be mad. I lost track of the number of CAT scans I had to have, or MRIs. Now, I was paying for this. Lost track. They didn't know they were doing this. Do we know what this will do to the people? Pyridostigmine bromide, experimental medication, not on anything but the British pharmacopoeia. Sarin gas, exposure to sarin. That's a nerve agent. You know, like you spray bugs? It's called an acetylcholinesterase inhibitor. That's what it does. It won't let your muscles relax and you suffocate while you're having a seizure. Bad way to go. We were exposed to that. We had to burn things when we left by treaty with the Saudis and the Kuwaitis and a few other people. Somebody had to stand there and watch it. Nobody thought about this at the time. Nobody had any malintent towards the troops that I know of. I'm one of the few NCOs left in my minor unit. I just turned 65 and I was the old man. That was worth it to me. But is it going to be worth it here? Because here we were doing that to keep the bad guys away. People you don't even know the names of. This will be with our kids. This will be with your grandchildren. This will be with you. I just had to retire. I did not want to retire. But the stuff they were putting in me to keep me alive was driving me insane. So thank God 6 months ago we stopped it. But we don't know what this thing will do. And I know this is poor science to stand up and make emotional appeals. We're emotional creatures. I was a career law enforcement officer. Based upon my perception, I can take a human life or deprive somebody of their civil rights. I'm just a dumb old redneck. These things are unknown. So if you would please, I beg you, take that into consideration. Look at the things that we don't know, because they will hurt just as bad as the things we did. Thank you for doing the job you guys have done and opening this up to us. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Come on, Craig. Good, how are you?
Good, man. First, I think it's good that we're having this meeting now. My name's Craig Lawson, by the way. I was born and raised in Toccoa, Stevens County, and just moved back up here last year. I've been instructed to say I'm here speaking of my own volition. I'm not representing anybody who I may or may not work for. So I'm speaking as a private citizen. I think the mood of the room is negative toward these data centers, and I do think it is a positive thing that we are having these meetings now, because I don't know if y'all are aware of other local governments. It's kind of hard to follow. You know, you kind of get pieces here and there from Facebook or what have you, but down in Maysville right now, boy, they're having it out, because they approved the zoning for the data center last January, and they said 6 people showed up to the meeting, and that's pretty much it. I mean, the discussion may be over, and they're trying to fight it, and I hope they win. Down in Coweta County, eminent domain, I haven't heard that brought up a lot tonight. I've seen as many as 300 properties that are up for grabs potentially, as many as 30 homes that, of course, this is what I have heard, it's not what I know, but maybe you're getting a low ball offer for your home and you don't have any choice but to accept it, or they're just going to take it. Or what may even be worse is they put a data center right in your backyard and you have to deal with those health fallouts. So I do want to commend this panel here for having this meeting now, because I think it's better to have it now. This is preemptive. And, these things are here. They kind of came out of nowhere. I don't know if I knew what a data center was a year ago, and they here. I mean, it's, and we've all gone down the conspiracy theory rabbit holes, and, 1984 is a real book, and it almost feels like it's happening in real time. Job replacement is obviously a concern. We've talked about water, power shortages. I'm not, about the power stuff. I don't really know a lot about that. Eminent domain, living next to, also haven't heard anyone say anything about it. One concern would be mass surveillance, which I know that sounds like a big conspiracy term, but there's 100,000 flock cameras, which really isn't technically that much for the whole United States, but they're going to make more. And they're going to come to our communities and say, here, we did a study and you need this, and we need to put these in your communities, and they're going to track everything you do. They're going to track everything on your phone. And, some folks would say, well, I don't have anything to hide, but we do have a right to privacy as citizens of the United States, a reasonable right to privacy, not in public, which I guess these things will be in public. But, I mean, just being able to track, even as much as your potentially, biometrics, and that's a little bit of what I have heard, and I don't know a ton about that, but it is a concern. But the main thing, I just wanted to point out, what's going on in Maysville, which is just down the road, it's not too far away, what's going on in Coweta County. Joel was talking about the Ocmulgee River Basin. I lived down there for the last 15 years, and that makes me very sad to see that happening, because who knows what the effects will be on that community. And y'all are kind of in an unenviable position, because I know we kind of laughed at it earlier, but I don't know how they're getting these things passed. I mean, I really don't. And if I was sitting in that chair and somebody said, we're going to give you $10 million, you just need to vote yes, I'd probably have a hard time saying no. I mean, I'm being honest with you. I think that is an unenviable position to be in. I don't know if that's happening. I'm certainly not casting any aspersions here, but I really don't know how they're getting passed. And it seems crazy to me that they're just popping up, but I think this is a positive thing, and I just, I want to thank everybody up here. Y'all care about this community, and y'all are elected officials, and everybody who came out tonight, and that's all I have to say. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it. Do we have anybody else that would like to take a turn? We'll go right here on the left and then followed by you.
My name is Bill Lofton. I live at 62 Forest Brook Drive in East Denali.
Yes, sir.
It all boils down to the simple fact that it seems to me that it's money or ruined ecologically county. There ain't nothing positive about it, not really. I mean,
Sure.
When it comes down to it, money or ecologically damaged county. I had a choice of where to move to. I wanted to be somewhere between Greenville and Atlanta because I don't like either one of them.
Understand.
This is where I came. I don't want it to turn into something like that. I
Yes.
really don't. I want to reiterate her vote no.
Yes.
Hell no, no way, forget it.
Understand. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I thank you all for having us all out. The only ordinance that I would like to see is a total ban on data centers in Stevens County. Any ordinance that would be put out there with limitations on data centers would just be, the developer would be in here asking for variances. And to me, so it's kind of like an, okay, well, might give you this variance here or there or whatever. So a ban is just better. These data centers do not serve any benefit to the people of Stevens County. They're only a bad thing to the county, and you've been hearing that from everybody here tonight. Data centers will further a surveillance state, and we are supposed to be free people in America, not people being surveilled. We don't need China's products here in the data centers. They're filled with a bunch of products from data center. We'd be supporting them. I don't like that. All of our rights were given to us by our Creator for life and liberty, and they weren't given to data centers. They were given to us. It's our water, it's our privacy, and so forth. So I hope you would consider a ban on data centers.
Thank you. So before the next person comes up, if a lot of folks have talked about a ban, is there case law in the state of Georgia yet about if you put a ban in the ordinance as it stood up in court?
I asked Casey
She
about
asked me
it.
that. I'm doing like, I don't know the answer to that.
Well, actually,
I don't want to say
I
anything.
sent some information to Christian. Here's how I want to start the ordinance. No data centers allowed. And they've done this in Gilmer County, okay? But what you do, in case state legislation, I'm talking to Casey now, in case state legislation ever comes to say that you can't put a total ban on data centers, then we have an ordinance up underneath, no
As a
data centers allowed.
As a backstop?
As a backstop, and
Yeah.
you make it very, like Ms. Ivy said, you don't want their appetite to be, ooh, I like Stevens County. You want them to be like, that's so expensive, they knew what they were doing, and let's look at the next county. One of the, and I'm still talking to Casey, but one of the comments was, I think it was from Craig, actually, I don't know why they're coming to so many communities. It's because a lot of these communities across the United States do not have land use plans. And so we have land use here, and this would be a conditional use permit. But not to get through the weeds of that, Gilmer County has it in their ordinance, no data centers allowed, and they've built their ordinance behind that in case the state ever comes back and says, oh, you can't put a total ban on them. But I promise you one thing right now, you pay attention to the state legislators, our representatives, and if they ever come behind that, after we're trying to protect our community, if we can put this in a ban, you remember who voted for that, and you get them out. Okay, so that's how, Ms. Casey, that's how, and I talked to Brian about this today. I knew you were coming tonight, but I've already talked to Brian about this today, and he said he would look into it. But if Gilmer County can do it, so can Stevens County.
Well, what I mean to say is I think it's like the gentleman that just spoke, it's a very new thing. I don't know that anybody had data centers on the brain a year ago. And so you can always y'all know this, y'all can always heavily regulate your land use and industry that comes to the community. There may be an instance where you can institute a ban. It can't be discriminatory. It has to go by, equal protection,
Commerce clause, due process.
Yeah, not infringing on any kind of
Sure.
When these data centers are looking at Gilmer County right now, they're looking at counties that don't even have an ordinance. As soon as they see Gilmer County said no data centers allowed, they're checking them off the list. And I want to be checked off the list as well.
Well,
I'll fight them later.
I think we all five agree. We just want to make sure it's worded properly where, it stands up.
We don't get
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So what I have to say, and I have researched this, is the one thing we don't want is to do something and create an ordinance that can be constitutionally challenged and lose. So that's why we're up here trying to come up with the toughest ordinance that we can, so they're not going to want to come here. And something that's going to stand up so that we don't get sued and lose, because our ordinance was unconstitutional. You can't just make a blanket statement and say a business can't come here. Oh, y'all are bad. You really, I've researched it. I don't think you can do it. And I think it's going to be a problem if we do it. So that is what we're trying to do, is make this so damn tough that they don't want to deal with us.
So just to clarify what Commissioner Wright was discussing with Gilmer County, because he did provide me with the ordinance as well. I don't know if Commissioner Whitlock or our attorney has had
I just read it, but I haven't
an
had a
opportunity
chance
to review it.
yeah.
But what it says at the top, just to be clear, is we are banning data centers in the event that is found to be unconstitutional. This will apply. So I think that is possibly permissible, and we are having it reviewed by our county attorneys, but I don't want anybody in here to get angry with us if you just don't see an ordinance that says no to data centers, because I am 100% sure that would be ruled unconstitutional, and we would end up getting sued, and that would defeat the purpose of all of this hard work by all of us and by you all. So, like Debbie said, we're trying to come up with something that's tough, that's constitutional, that will withhold a challenge, so that we are prepared, and we're prepared adequately.
Go ahead, Craig. Then we'll.
Can I just ask a question? Are you looking at other places?
So to speak to the other states specifically, two things. The short answer is yes. We've reached outside of this state because there does become a legal precedent at some point. To address what we were just discussing in terms of a legally binding or something that's going to hold up when challenged ordinance, just recently in Michigan, there was a township that actually denied a data center. 2 days later, they lost a lawsuit, and now the data center is under construction. So that's not what we want. We are trying to be proactive. We are trying to set up the guardrails to protect the community. And I think that when we look at other states, other counties, we try to look as far as we can to see what will apply here. I've also spoken with the commissioner from Loudoun County, Virginia. They have one of the highest densities of data centers in the world. And what happened at number 2 now? Okay, so that county, what happened is back in 2014, the way their ordinance was written, a data center fell into the same classification as an office building. And so once that was identified, they exploited putting them there. And so we're just trying to make sure whatever we create is something that will last and is not short-term. And I think that we are all trying to, we are not, I'll speak for me, I don't think there is any intent of trying to draw these here. I think what we are trying to do is create the guardrails and the protection for the community, but we want to do it from a legal standpoint that we don't call second and third order effects, that whether it be 30 days or 30 years, that come back to bite us.
Exactly. No, you're spot on.
And I do want to say, you could compare it, and so I am on my phone, yes. I'm not playing a game or anything, though. I'm researching, because I think that was an issue in the past about chicken houses or something. So anyway. So,
1 second.
you know, and so just doing a little research on comparing it to a strip club. You cannot, a total outright statewide ban on strip clubs is unconstitutional. But what you can do, governments are legally permitted to regulate them to the point of effectively shutting them down or shutting them out, okay? So, I mean, I wish we could just say no, but I think, you know, if they do try to come here, you know, even under a conditional use, then we have the opportunity to say no at that point, if they're brave enough after we get finished with our ordinance, so.
I wanted to thank all of y'all for being proactive and not reactive, for, first of all, having the readings, putting a moratorium. If it needs to be extended even longer, extend it as long as you possibly can. And another way of thinking out of the box would be to say, your data center has to be on commercial intensive land. It has to be X number of acres. It has to be X number of miles away from residential. It has to be X number of miles from any creeks or streams or whatever, to where we don't even have any land that meets that definition. So you kind of outsmart them that way. And the other thing I wanted to make you aware of is that the Energy Policy and Innovation Center, it's called the EPI-Center at Georgia Tech, has launched an interactive tool to help communities navigate the dynamic land use and policy landscape surrounding the data center development, and it's called the Georgia Data Center Ordinance Hub. And I think that as far as when y'all are getting down to the nitty-gritty, dotting, the I's and crossing the T's, that might be a great place for y'all to go for information, because this is new to all of us.
Here.
And that's what we're here for tonight.
Yeah. So information, but I think if we could put a definition, looking at our land and put a definition that where none of our land fits that definition would be another way to do it.
Thank you, Sherry, appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, go ahead, Rich. I was just going to say, a lot of folks have had an opportunity to talk tonight, and we've kind of definitely agreed on the environmental impacts and a lot of the negative things. So I don't think we want to be here till midnight. So let's continue the discussion, but let's try to make it fresh, new ideas if we need to, and not, we can just kind of move along, okay?
I do want to address what Ms. Sherry said about the, make it impossible. We cannot create an ordinance that would make it impossible because there's no possibility for them to try to even be here. That would be illegal. So that would never hold up. We can't do that. I wish we could, but...
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, their Board of Commissioners did an ordinance that completely banned data centers within across their municipality, so you might want to get with the Fayette County.
So I just, Fayetteville,
Fayetteville, Georgia, right now, North Carolina.
my concerns are, and I'm not saying that they're wrong, it's that they haven't, and I'm sorry, sir, is that they haven't been in place long enough to be challenged. And so even, I don't want to be first. No, I don't ever want to be first for a lot of things. Sometimes I do want to be first, though. Sorry. But, just because it's there doesn't mean they're correct. And we're going to rely heavily, not on just me and Debbie, because this is not our wheelhouse, but we're going to rely on our county attorneys to make it really tough. So I just don't want anybody in this room to be disappointed if it just doesn't say ban. And I want you to be able to speak because you have provided us with some great information already, and we're very thankful for that.
Great, Mr. Cynthia.
Thank you. My name is Richard Santiago, and I live on 116 Brookstone in Toccoa. I think what you're hearing tonight is really just a reflection of the people's fear. And what you got to do is your job is to protect the county. And the way you have to protect your county, I agree with you, you can't ban outright because our legal system will just rule against you. We have so many laws that get passed, and they're only in place for a little while before they get pushed up the court system and they get overruled, and then you're in a worse situation to protect yourself. So data centers have been around a long time. They're not new, but they're new now because they're so big because of AI. Before they were much smaller. So I would like to, one person did bring up something about non-disclosures agreements. I would like y'all to consider that when it comes to data centers. I know there's a case for them in other places, but this issue is too much. It can't, other county commissions have slipped in and signed a non-disclosure agreement through their development authority, and then the people get left out. And then the commissioners can't talk to the people because they've signed it.
Sure.
So I think up front, if that was clear, that would be very helpful. I think it's going to get better. I think we're like fifth in the country for data centers, but because so many people were caught unawares and not prepared, it's getting better. And our legislature has actually passed a proposal to stop the tax breaks, because it's just, they come here because of that.
I saw that.
But it was vetoed and they couldn't override it, but there's a new opportunity for that to come back.
Sure.
So, and when you go through this thing, I think just a one over the world thing for you guys to consider is don't take counsel of your fears. Don't worry about it. You have to do the right thing to protect us. Everybody's not aware of all the technical things that you have to deal with because it's your job to do it. So just do the right thing, and the way that you do that is you put all these little conditions in your ordinances that over time when they look at it, it's just too much for them to want to come. They'll look elsewhere. So look, I got a couple of them I want to ask you about here. The average size is about 225 acres is the average data center. Now, we're proposing 10 acres, and I think 10 acres is way too low of a threshold. So I'd like you to relook at that. I don't know what the acreage is available in the industrial park, but you probably should tie to that if the industrial park is where you want to drive them to if they were to come here. And part of that, when you shape this stuff, you say put them into the industrial park if that's where you want them. Then you say they can't get on anywhere other than arterial roads. You can't go on back streets, back county roads, and all this drives them back to where you want them to go. So I'd recommend 200 acres or 150, whatever you got left over there. Look at that. Your buffering, they look at that buffering pretty strict because you're going to require landscaping, and I think we went to 8 feet, but I think we need to go like multiple rows. You know, just make it a little more, because they'll do the minimum. When you say 8,
Yeah, absolutely.
when you say that, and most places will get specific with the kind of plants or shrubs that you want, you know, so you just don't get pine trees. And
Got plenty of those.
yeah, we got. Yep, so y'all are already working towards the industrial park. I would flesh out where when they start scrubbing for how this affects the infrastructure here, that it's all specific, that they can't do anything that will change or interfere with the people's power grid today, so that they don't have brownouts and they don't start losing their computers falling off. So the water, here's a big one with the water. Everything is kind of hinged on power and water. And I would put in there that should one want to come here, that it cannot connect to public water. Because I know you don't have public water, but you set the conditions for what you want to be developed in here. You can limit the public water, so Toccoa can't sell the water to make a lot of money. That just puts us in a bind. Because I just want you to think, you know, you protect us in the county. Toccoa has other motivations, right? They're in the water business. They want to make money, is why they're outside of the county selling it. They don't own any water. They get their water from Georgia Power. Georgia Power wants to sell water. Georgia Power wants to sell power. So you have to put in provisions to protect yourself so we don't get kind of an end run behind us, and we're stuck. On the water, the discharge water, I'd put some more specificity in there about the temperatures that come out, so that, you know, if it's a warm water stream, I put some in there already, like no more than 5 degrees for cold water fisheries, and no more than 3 degrees for warm water like the lake. And that will protect kind of the aqua life, the trout and all that in the creeks. And it, once again, it makes it a little harder for them to do business here. They can still do it, but I would like to have them report to you once a month. And that's what I put in here, monthly reports submitted to the county for review. And so,
Thank you, Billy.
yeah, but then when you make them report to you, because so many times they don't report to the community anymore, because something of this scope, they report to the state or they report to the federal government, and they bypass you once they get what they need. But when you have them report to you and they're in non-compliance, then the next thing I'd say is that's when you levy the fines. And I would put in a very healthy fine in here, like $1,000 a day. What did I put in here? For violations, $1,000 a day for each violation. You know, just to put some teeth into what you have. But you'll find out those violations when they have to submit the report to you.
Yep.
So, right now, we're like one of the highest ones in the state for violations on, you know, the sewage spillage and stuff. So we just this gives you a better handle for that.
Doug, one of the things that you put in all this information that was a good takeaway for me, can you touch on the decibel?
On the decibels, yeah, y'all
'cause I
pretty
think
much,
that's really important.
y'all pretty much adopted the decibels, kind of what I had. The only thing I would add in there is they have these backup generators. They're very large, and they're to run in the event of a failure. And just like your home generator, they'll test them. But they don't have to test them at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So I put in here they test them during Monday through Friday during the workday, because they have to test them, but I also put in there they're restricted from tying in and operating the data center off of their backup generator because they didn't build the infrastructure correctly the first time. So the backup generator is just for emergency to get them through, but those decibels are in here. There were 60, I think, and then at night it went down to 50. They're pretty strict. That's stricter than
I saw that. Yeah.
that's probably the most strict. Well, the thing is, there's a limit to what they can do, you know. And the other thing is, you can also take a sampling of the noise level, of the existing noise level, wherever they were to go. And then they have to not only comply with the decibel level where it leaves their property, you know, that's where they measure it, where it leaves their property. But if for some reason it was even lower, they have to comply with what it was before, or this standard, whichever is more strict. So that would keep, because that noise level is horrendous, you know. I think you said you could hear it over 14, 15 miles.
Place in Mississippi.
Yeah, so that's where it destroys your quality of life. The noise, the light, the traffic. I used to live in Fayette County. I'm familiar with where that data center is. It's been being built for 3 years now. And now to go across where I still go to a doctor for my annual physical down there, it had like 30 minutes just to go another 5-6 miles. And that data center is on a 10-year plan by design to be built. So if they're on schedule, it'll take 10 years, but they're never on schedule. And you know how that goes. So everybody living around there, their whole life is disrupted. Their whole property values and they just feed. Now there's one There's a 668, I think, acre first phase in Fayetteville. Then there's another 300 acre. And then about 2 weeks ago, North Fayette County in Tyrone, where I used to live, now they have a data center that's applied. And the next little town, Palmetto, Coweta County's got 2. They just explode when they find a weakness in a community, then they use it against you. So you have to have all these little barriers, although it sounds like a lot. When their recruiters come looking and they see how much they have to comply with here, they'll probably just look somewhere else because they'll find an easier. Yeah. Right. Yeah, they have to test all of that, and there's health standards they have to comply with, but all of it does need to be, a lot of it is already specified for the water, but if it's not, then you just need to add it into our requirements so that it is specified, because they won't do it if you don't.
We can't make it recycle.
Well, they got a closed loop system.
There's multiple systems
Yeah,
because
yeah.
data centers a lot of times are clumped into one category, and there's dozens of ways they do everything. So there's a lot of different cooling methods, whether the water's open loop or closed loop. Some actually use immersed into oil. So it's a lot of different stuff they use.
Yeah, that's correct. Some of them don't use water,
Yeah, there's actually dry systems. They actually have them in the desert to where they don't use any water. But those are the minority. There's not a lot of those.
Yeah. On that annual audit, I would like you to include like a monthly report from them, but an annual audit that's due on the 31st of the year, to include the total energy use they had, the upgrades they had, any compliance shortages, and what they've done so that you have a track of it. And if they have a violation, then your hammer is, I put in like a mandatory fine. Now, some of these they say up to, and then every time it goes up to, it puts you in a very difficult position, or whoever the administrator is, because it can be less than. So this language says mandatory. So it takes the pressure off of that administrator, and they're going to get $1,000 a day per occurrence, and so it's a big hit. But really,
We're trying, Billy. We're giving everybody
Just
time.
attacking.
Go ahead. Y'all go together and do it. You didn't want to go first. You
Just
go
run
together.
and knock him out. Let's see.
Yeah, he's my neighbor, so he can wait.
Find out over in the neighborhood.
He said you
Now-
get in line.
Now, the one thing that these tools you put in, they use them against you if you don't have your ducks in a row.
Sure.
And the biggest tool you have is that comprehensive land use map and plan.
Yep.
Okay, and now, that's what helped us with the rock quarry. It was not in accordance with what we said we were going to do. But in Cornelia, they had a data center started. The planning commission voted to not recommend approval of it. They were in the process of being sued because their land use plan allowed it. The category allowed it. So this is where they didn't clean up their own backyard, but had their land use plan not allowed it, they would have been on solid footing all the way around. And they can't force their way in here if you give them, Debbie, you're talking about adult. Well, we had a neighboring last little short story. We had a neighboring town that was in a bad straits and wanting business. They had a big mall shut down, and this guy came in and said he wanted to put this big shoe store in there. And so they approved whatever he needed to do, and then in fact he put an adult store in there, a huge one. And they were like 3 of them in Coweta County, Fulton County. So where we lived, we didn't have an ordinance. But because you don't have an ordinance, you're vulnerable. So we didn't want to bring in adult entertainment or adult stores, but they say, well, we're going to go to commercial because commercial retail is kind of like what it is. So we took a moratorium on everything for 6 months. And then we gave them a spot in the industrial park next to the concrete plant, next to the asphalt plant, across the railroad, and then we denied no alcohol license to go with it. So we never had one. They were looking to come, and they could come, but they couldn't make any money, and they couldn't sue us because we gave them a place, right? So that's kind of what y'all have to work through. Don't rush through it. It'd be good if you, as you did these sessions, and you keep building your plan so that you can kind of see it grow, and then keep getting information, and it'll help you.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
You didn't want to be number one, but you keep sneaking closer and closer. Good evening, how are you?
Hello, my name is Dorothy Abramson, and I live at 153 Canebrake Circle. And I just wanted to say, maybe you could put like a 10-year moratorium on that ordinance, let everybody else around do what they want to do as far as having a data center, and then you've got a lot of information to work on as to how it affects the various counties. I've looked, and of the research that I've done on the data centers, to me, there's not a good reason why anybody should want one, because like all these other people have said, it uses tremendous amounts of water and destroys the water systems in a lot of areas, increases the cost for the individuals, their bill's going to go up. Same thing with electricity, and you also have a noise problem. The other thing is, too, you could look at the Cooper Santee River and Duke Energy. Right now, they're going to have a multi-million-dollar project to build more, I guess, electric plants or something, because they have such a huge amount of data centers in South Carolina. So that might give you something to look at as to what not to do. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Appreciate you being here. Billy?
Cannot be last.
We'll see.
My name is Billy Chisholm, and I moved to Toccoa in 1973, so I've been here, if my math's right, about 53 years. I could have gone anywhere as I got older, but I just wanted to stay here, and I'm glad I stayed here. I live in a great neighborhood. I've got a new neighbor over here, Christian, and so Toccoa, the city of Toccoa and Stevens County, I think is a wonderful place to live. And first somebody took my line away about being proactive, but you are being proactive, and I want to congratulate you for that, because you could have just waited, but you haven't. So I think this is a fine commission that would do this. The second thing is I want to thank all the people, and half of them have left, but all the people that came out, because it shows, I swear I thought it'd be 10 people here, and the courthouse was half full, which I think is a good sign, because they care. And so I'll tell you, there were some very good points were made by a lot of different people, points I'd never even thought about. But it seems one of the running themes through this was electrical use and water use. Well, let me just tell you, I know about water, and the city of Toccoa has the water plant here. They've had it for a century almost, supplying clean drinking water to all the citizens. And let me tell you, now you think about this, is there anything more precious than water? Because in about 3 or 4 days, if you don't have it, you'll die. And water is life. Data centers are not life. Data centers are just a big building with a bunch of computers wreaking havoc. But water is life. So you've got to think water in this whole thing. And I just want to give this information because I want to put a little meat on the bones about water. The city of Toccoa can treat is the word, they can treat 5 million gallons per day
And of that 5 million gallons per day, about 65% goes to drinking water in Stevens County, except for Martin. They've added Martin to it. But they're also supplying water to Banks County, Franklin County, and the city of Demorest. And that all comes together to 5 million gallons a day. And let me tell you something. If somebody said, well, we need 6 million gallons a day, we need to add another million, City of Decoa. The City of Decoa's water plant is running full blast at 5 million gallons a day. So does the city have lots of raw water? Yes, it does. It has it from the Lake Yona, which is Georgia Power, but they also get water from Davison Creek. They've got their own reservoir that they own on Davison Creek, and it comes down to the reservoir. So the city has got plenty of raw water, but it can only treat 5 million gallons a day right now. You know, if a big industry wanted to come in, if Budweiser wanted to come in and say, hey, we want 2 million gallons a day and we'll bring a Budweiser plant in, well, there ain't no way. Now, your industrial park, there is city water there, and it was there for a reason. If you have an industry that needs water, then the city of Decoa can do it if it's a reasonable amount. But they're at their peak right now. So all these points that these people made were excellent. I appreciate your time. I love this place, and I appreciate you doing what's right, because in the long run, integrity is really the only path that's the right path, and it's a path you'll never get lost from. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chisholm.
you, Billy.
Yes, ma'am.
Guess I'll close it up here.
Sure.
My name's Yolande Stoltz, and I live at 164 Celtic Drive. Haystone Brady Park was not built there when I bought my property in 2005. It came in, and then the bypass came in. I literally live, if I took a potato gun shooter, I could shoot a potato to where you're talking about putting in this data center. Everybody in my neighborhood, and that is 46 homes that have been built since and were there established prior to my, purchasing my property. I moved my kids and I up here in 2010. We live on a well. And I did everything I could to just build a place for my kids and I to survive and live on a very small fixed income, which is many of the people that were there and established. And having a data center come in, it would kill our water system. It absolutely would run us dry instantaneously. And I know of 2 other folks that already have had water issues of their wells drying up, or the wells not producing good enough water, or contaminated water already since KTW NIFCO came in. So we do have a water line that was just brought in literally within the last 3 to 4 years. And I do have a main tap, but I am not tapped into it. And it was provided by Martin, the city of Martin. We don't have the capability. All of that water that this gentleman just talked about would have to come from another municipality, because we don't have it. Our little aquifer is just enough to take care of the residents there. And out of those 46 homes, I think that I know of, there's many of them that are still on wells. Mike and Melanie, they live up on the hill of what we call our neighborhood off of Swilling Road, which has Sage Milliken plant that is now closed. So all those jobs went away. But at the top of their hill, they had to dig their well, and it was over $10,000 because it was over 6,000 feet for them to get water. I was like shocked when I heard that, because they put their well in after I did. My well is at 400 feet. So, and when I did it, it was technically affordable, cost me $4,000, but now it's not. So to have people that have been on wells and then to give them and force them to have to go on to municipal water, a lot of them couldn't even do it. We don't have the infrastructure along our roadway, and we are literally less than half a mile from where you're talking about. So these residents that live there, you would drive them out of their homes, literally. You would drive us out of our homes, you know? So really, really, really think hard about how to make it difficult for any of them to come in. Because I know they're going to try it everywhere. But like Miss Shirley's daughter said, and like this gentleman said, challenge them. Make them to where they just don't want to mess with us. We've done our research. We've done our homework. We know what's coming. Put the moratorium, like she said, extend it out. Extend it out abnormally long. Just because you can. Moratorium doesn't stop it from coming, it just delays it from coming. And it gives you time to educate yourselves and the next commissioners that come in after you, if and when you do lose your position and go to the next ones. It gives them time to learn the whole infrastructure, what's happening. And let's watch and see what happens. Because there's a lot of towns with all of these new data centers that are hurting. They're really hurting. And you don't want to do that to your residents here. You really don't. Because we love it here. I'm so glad I moved from Florida. I'm native, Florida born, raised, Orlando. They can have it. Family's there, 10 hours away, that's close enough for me. I love the mountains here. I don't want to see this place destroyed.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
One more.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Abby Morales. I'm at 55 Logan's Run. Something just to look into. Everyone has had such great information as you were talking about, Debbie, about all the things of how to word it in such a way that they can't get around it. Something to look into is just so Grok's AI data center out of, it's either the one in Memphis or it's the one in South Haven, Mississippi, but it's their Colossus data center. The way they got around it was they were able to bypass regulatory permits by classifying them as temporary non-road engines where they mounted their gas turbines on flatbed trailers. So they're finding loopholes. So I think I would just say learn from all of the other data center mistakes that have been made and see all of the different loopholes that they have been able to get around, and how do you word into the ordinance what the loophole is.
What we're trying to do tonight
yeah.
is collect as much as we can.
Oh, for sure. So it's just, nobody had said something about the non-road trailers, and it was like, I just watched something the other night about it, so I wanted to add that in.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Brandon Revis, 523 Racetrack Road. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I'm one of the only people in the room, probably one of the few people in the world that have been a subcontractor on a data center project. And one of the ways to prevent these projects from coming is remembering that there are hundreds of subcontractors that have to build the project. So it's very easy to come into this looking at the big picture. They're going to come in, this company, Facebook, Meta, Google, whatever, they're going to come in and build it. They're not actually going to come in and build it. There are caravans of subcontractors that all they specialize in is water-cooled software, water-cooled hardware systems. And that's one thing to remember too, they're going to promise jobs. These are just companies that travel the country finding these projects. So keeping that in mind, I didn't hear that mentioned tonight, so it's very easy to get caught up in the weeds of Google, Facebook, Meta's coming. They're going to come, but like was mentioned earlier, they're never going to be here. But the subcontractors are, and giving them the permits to work. They're going to ones that are going to come in asking for the variances. It's not the big companies. So continuing to have that in mind, I worked on one of the first data centers in the state in Covington. It was a Facebook data center. That was supposed to be a 3-phase project. They only built 2 of the 3 phases. The last phase ended up being a parking lot, and it's still a parking lot. They never finished it. So I'd strongly encourage, when you're looking at the previous projects, look at what the subcontractors did. Look at everyone who worked on it. That's the way, Chuck, you mentioned, you can't just outright necessarily say no data centers are coming, but the back end, there's a way to word every single part. I was specifically a landscape contractor on the job. They had landscape plans. And if you require them to use Bermuda, they might want to use Bermuda grass, but if you require them to use Zorza grass, that's an extra $300 a pallet. There are ways.
No, I mean, his point.
I love it.
We're just talking
Yeah.
about getting very specific as we continue to build out the ordinance, make sure that it's very detailed on what's
Yeah.
required in those individual subs, because it may discourage them from what would even come try to build, yeah.
To be
Right.
expensive.
I got
Make the subcontractors want to go work build ASI's new plant, and if they want to go build a data center, they can go build it somewhere else.
Sure.
I just wanted to lay that on the floor. As someone who's had experience working on one of these sites, that's really important. Those are going to be the people who are going to find the ways to get around, make them innovate and work for us instead of working for themselves.
Understand.
Thank you, Brandon.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Please do.
Oh, hey.
Hi. Being proactive, and I'm Catherine Healy, another neighbor, 346 Lee Circle. Our neighborhood is here. I think everybody has done a great job. I just have a suggestion for every single person here. Write your state legislature. They had the opportunity to cancel. Most data centers now go to states that give incentives, and we give way too many incentives, and that's why they're coming here. And we need to get them canceled. I hope that you'll let them know that your county commissioners, you do not want these people here, and to take away those incentives. We are not going to make any money off of any incentive, and we're going to lose money. I mean, if they use enough power in one day to feed 6,500 homes, we don't need them here. So let's just let the state legislature know that we don't want them. Tell 5 people and ask those 5 people, write your legislatures and tell them to stop the incentives, because those incentives are bringing them to Georgia. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Healy.
All right. Anybody else want an opportunity? All right. Well, I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Thank you so much for the feedback. We would like to see more engagement on other items, not just data centers. There's a lot going on in Stevens County, so we really do encourage folks to come out and participate in other activities that we've got going on. But thank you again so much for coming tonight. I appreciate it.